Attention. Due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 26 of the Civil Gore podcast. I am your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And of course, we want to just start the episode off, of course, referencing Tobe Hooper's passing, which was sudden and very sad, of course, amongst the horror community. And, you know, as you know, we just did a major Texas Chainsaw Massacre retrospective as part of our Summer Slaycation series. However, you know, we found out about it just before, just about a day before we were about to go do this show. So what we decided to do is we actually had a plan to do a Stephen King kind of September, basically, in honor of it. However, we thought what we'd do is once the Summer Slaycation ends, which is after this episode, we will do still continue to Stephen King, but also honor Tobe Hooper by doing Salem's Lot.
Yeah, that's a great movie anyway, so that'll be a good way to pay tribute to Tobe Hooper and get our theme in for the month. And I'm getting a little tired of doing these horror tributes.
Yeah.
Just had George Romero recently. I was like, please no more for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad enough that, we're just losing some of these greats. It's you know, it's kind of rough. But actually, I should give a shout out to my friend Abby, because she was watching it today and she posted it on Facebook, and it gave me the idea to go ahead and do that. She posted that creepy scene, which we all talk about, which I'll save to go into detail for when we actually do the episode. But so of course we would have to by no means not start the show without referencing the sad passing of Tobe Hooper.
So we have a lot to cover tonight, so let's get right into it with our first chop. So, Brian, I decided to check out a Netflix original movie that I had seen hyped up and popped up on my feed for a little while, and that was Death Note by Adam Wingard.
Oh, yeah, he's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you may know him. He did The Guest, he did You're Next, he did the Blair Witch remake, or not remake, what do you call that thing?
I guess the
sequel.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of I did the same thing last week. I referred to it as a remake, but it's essentially a remake / sequel.
Yeah, so I've always enjoyed this stuff. Now, this one was based on a manga and anime series that I was not familiar with, so I kind of went into it with fresh eyes. I didn't know any of the background or the characters or anything like that, but I just thought the trailers looked really cool. And for the most part, it's a pretty good film. I wouldn't call it strictly horror. It kind of starts out that way. The premise is there's this guy that finds this notebook, and he discovers that by writing a name in the notebook, he can cause that person to die. And this death is accomplished through the use of this demon that appears out of this notebook. And the demon is really, really creepy looking, and he's voiced by Willem Dafoe.
Oh, wow. That's
himself cool. As perfect casting.
Yeah.
But it starts out really good. And what I was kind of expecting from it was kind of a Final Destination type movie, because I figured this would be about him discovering the notebook, and then he starts finding all these creative ways to make people die, which it kind of starts off that way. But then it starts getting into more of a cat and mouse type thriller. So it kind of loses that horror element that it starts off so strongly with, and kind of goes into something a little more action-y, a little more action suspense. So
wait, he writes the name down and how they're going to die, or just the name?
He writes down how they're going to die as well.
Oh, okay.
And there's different rules on the notebook, like the death has to be something that's physically possible. So you couldn't have explode into a pile of feathers or something.
It can't be
crazy.
like oatmeal monster comes and eats him.
No, it has to be. But it's still interesting the way the demon carries them out. So it may not be exactly how you think it's going to be.
You know, he's got to be careful, because whoever that guy is, like, I hope he's paying attention, because imagine he's like writing his Christmas list and he's like, Mom, slippers, and then like his mother gets strangled by a pair of slippers. Yeah. You know, could be a bad twist to that.
Well, as you know, with any movie where you're dealing with a demon, things don't always go according to plan. So I'll leave it at that.
Ah, okay.
But I enjoyed it. I was a little disappointed that it did not keep up the horror elements from the first half, or even the first third, maybe. But still, overall, as a movie, it was enjoyable, and it's free on Netflix, so check it out. I've heard some complaints but mostly from people who were familiar with the anime, because obviously they probably wanted more. They said this movie felt a little rushed. For me, it did not feel rushed at all because I'm just not familiar with the source material. So your mileage may vary depending on how familiar you are with the IP.
I'll have to look into this. This sounds interesting, though. It sounds like a cool plot, though.
Yeah, it's a cool plot, and the effects are really, really cool. Like, the demon effects are really, really neat.
Well, and you know what? Adam Wingard, it really hasn't done anything I didn't like, so I'm sure I'll definitely at least find this enjoyable, so I'll have to look at this.
And the next thing I just want to briefly mention, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I discovered that Night Gallery is on Hulu.
Oh, really?
Which I did not know, and I love Night Gallery.
Yeah, and we've talked about doing like a whole TV retrospective, and that definitely comes up into that discussion.
The thing I liked about Night Gallery, or at least that I like now, is as much as I enjoy the Twilight Zone, it's still the really old black and white format. Whereas Night Gallery has kind of that late 60s, early 70s aesthetic that I really like.
It was in color at one point, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's in color.
Right, yeah, okay.
So, I think it was 1970.
Because I remember that one with the old guy or something in the grave. And then that one was like some old, like Western guy. And he's something. I just remember something with the grave, and he's laughing at the end. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I've really enjoyed it. I've watched 5 or 6 of them now. I don't think Hulu has every single episode, because I've got a little movie tracker or TV show tracker that tracks episodes watched to keep up with all my crap.
Yeah, I know.
All my backlog. And it doesn't jibe up with the Hulu numbers I'm seeing, but that's okay. I'll watch as many as I can.
We'll have to trade off. I'll give you my password to my on demands, and you give me your Hulu password, and I can catch up.
Yeah, somehow we'll fill in all the gaps.
Yeah. Well, we'll just make. Yeah, I mean, we'll just make it the Civil Gore account. That's all.
Yeah. And then the only other thing I had is we took the kids to the comic book store Saturday, and so of course I was looking at all the horror comics. Oh my God, there's so many horror comics out there. It's not even funny. It's just ridiculous, the amount. So I didn't want to leave empty-handed, because my son, he loves horror stuff. He's only 6. He found a kids horror comic called Spooky something, but it's made for kids, but it's still kind of a little bit scary.
Like a Goosebumps or something.
Yeah, kind of like that. But so he absolutely was thrilled with that. So I picked up one that I had been wanting to pick up for a while now, which is called Haunted Horror. And this one's, all it is reprints of the old EC horror comics.
Oh, that's cool.
They slap a new cover on it, and they'll pull stories from various different, not just Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror, but even some more obscure titles.
But that's cool, though, because a lot of people, like, I know we always talk about how we love those. It's great for, like, a new generation now to kind of discover them without having to, like, track down these old comics that may be hard to get.
Right, yeah. So I picked up the latest issue of that, and I actually placed an order to buy some of the back issues. Some of the early ones are actually really expensive right now, but I'm trying to go back and fill in as many gaps as I can. I think they're up to 29 or 30 now. So I'm trying to go back and pick up the ones that I don't have, because I loved those old EC horror comics, and the fact that they're reprinting these is really cool. Back in the 90s, they did a reissue of Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, and Haunt of Fear. And I used to collect those, but of course they're long gone now. Who knows what happened?
Yeah, I still have a few somewhere buried. I know I showed you some of the ones I found when you came to visit, but I know I have some other of those remake ones that you were talking about. And then remember I gave you that one. Did you ever get to read that one that I picked up at Chiller where they did that like tribute one where it was in that style?
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I've got it right here on my desk. Yep, and that's kind of what made me think of these old style comics. The other one I picked up, I just kind of picked up on a whim, and then when I saw the description, I was like, oh, this sounds right up my alley. It's called Diablo House, and it's also an anthology-type comic. In other words, that it has various horror stories in it. And this was actually issue number 1 is on the shelves right now. And I picked this up because it's a as the description says, it's a throwback to the classic days of horror comics, but it's adult content and modern content. So it has the same style, but they're new stories.
Oh, I like it already.
So I thought that was a kind of a cool pairing. I had one of the classic horror and one that's kind of a throwback to classic horror, but is still modern. So I'm going to start collecting that one and try to catch up on these back issues of haunted horror.
So now that Tim has got another form of media to be a backlog project.
Of course, yeah.
Because why not, right? You know.
And I didn't even get into, this is not horror related at all, but I found a Batman comic reading order list. So now I've been obsessed with trying to read all the Batman comics in suggested reading order. So God help me, that's going to take forever. But anyway, I love my little projects.
Yeah, they make me look bad because I don't even have any, and I'm still behind with everything. I don't know. But and that said, it's a good segue because one of the reasons why I now don't get to do any of my backlog projects is because of Friday the 13th, the game, which obviously still takes a bunch of my free time. And as of today, as of recording day, they dropped the patch, the newest patch, which is a big one, a game changer, so to speak. No pun intended there.
Oh, you intended it.
Well, of course I did.
You know
Of course I did. But if I don't say no pun intended, it's like people are going to think I'm just weird, or weirder. But anyway, so those who, obeyed it, and what's good about this patch is actually for the first time in the history of this game, they waited and released the patch simultaneously for PS4, Xbox One, and Steam, and usually it's probably the other ones were ready, and Xbox One again was the holdout. It always takes long, but at least we tried to eliminate pissing people off more than they have, I guess, by waiting and releasing them all simultaneously. And some of the biggest changes, I'll go over them real quick. Again, another shout out to our good friend Steve Cohn. Which some of these will just lead to more of his deaths in game. But anyway, they added 3 new small maps. So they basically took the 3 maps in the game and kind of condensed them. So they're a lot smaller because if you've played the game, some of the maps are massive. And you could be Jason, you're wandering around for like 14 minutes of not finding anybody or anything. So that'll be kind of interesting. It'll make it a lot harder as a counselor. But it kind of make the game go faster, too, because I don't know about you, but some of the worst parts of that game is when you die, like, in 30 seconds into the game, and then you're sitting there watching people that don't know what they're doing for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So, they removed the team killing, which has been a big problem. I know I've been a victim of that myself, where I've literally just been walking in the game, and a counselor comes up and shoots me. And so as before mentioned, then I'm sitting there for 15 minutes watching the rest of the game because some person was bored, and they decided to kill their fellow counselors.
Which is so dumb because you lose a ton of experience.
Yeah, you lose 1,000 points, and that could be 2 full games worth of points, because sometimes you only get about 500 in a game. And I accidentally killed someone once because I was trying to kill Jason and rescue someone, and Jason moved out of the way at the last minute, and I ended up shooting Tommy by mistake. It was, and I lost 1,000 points. And after it basically and I only played 2 games before that, basically wiped my whole night out in one stupid maneuver. But besides that, so that stopped. And here's the big one, though. Well, they did a major bug and exploit fixes, but here's the big one. The memory leak supposedly has been fixed. No more crashing. I'll believe that when I see it. But
yeah, I was about to say, I've heard that song before, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
But yeah, I mean, the fact that they actually put this down there, they've never actually put that down in the thing. They just said, oh, we're working on it. This is the first time they listed this. So, and then here, I don't know what this means, but it says a slight fidelity update for Xbox One players. So I don't know. So I guess Xbox One got a little bonus there. It's matchmaking tweaks for all platforms, which is good. And then they added a bunch of language stuff. Like, I guess they said localization added for English, French, Italian, German, Russian, Portuguese, and Japanese. I'm not sure what that meant by localization, but I think there's a couple of other little mini patches that they're doing, other things, but those are the big ones. But the big thing is, the 2 that drove me crazy was the matchmaking and the crashing. So if they fix those, now we got something here for sure that will just keep me playing a lot more. Especially with the promise of the new stuff coming out.
Yeah, and you guys don't know, I haven't really been playing at all because of all the issues. And I was just fed up with it, but I'm definitely going to give it a chance now that the patch is out.
Yes, because Ken is always asking, he's like, where's Tim? Why isn't he playing? So now Tim has no excuse. He's got and it's a 4 gig patch, by the way, so definitely prep yourself a good, maybe 20 minutes before you're going to want to play to download that thing, because that's the other patches were only 3 gig. This is the biggest patch yet. So,
Nice.
Then the next thing we'll go over as our final first chop. Twin Peaks is the revival, which, as you know, I'm a huge fan of. Is now, I can't believe it. It felt like it just got here, and now it's already ending. The finale is coming up this Sunday at 8 o'clock. It's a 2-hour finale, and the last episode that aired last night, from, as you know, we usually record on Mondays, was my favorite of the year by far. It was phenomenal, and without obviously giving anything away, I will just say this. It probably had some of the best Twin Peaky moments and the best David Lynch moments rolled into one. So it's good. You got full on David Lynch moments in that thing where you're like, what? And you just can't help but like kind of chuckle at it. And then you had such crazy Twin Peaks moments and some classic Twin Peaks moments. So I cannot wait for the finale, but I'm also sad because, like I said, I was looking so forward to this for like 3 years since it was announced, and now that it's kind of coming to an end. And I did read that it's not like it's not going to ever come back. They just said they're not discussing it until this airs and they can really kind of view everything. But I do know it was pretty successful for Showtime. I did read an article. They said that it did help their viewership a lot this summer. So, but David Lynch, I think, has been traveling. So I guess when he gets back, they said they're going to discuss it after the finale. So we'll see what happens. I personally would want this forever, but I know we're not going to get that, but hopefully that it'll continue at least in other forms like things do nowadays. Like I know there's a big book coming out in October. Maybe there'll be some comics. Maybe there'll be something. I don't know, but I don't know. I was just so glad it's back. I don't want it to go away again. And you need to catch up, Tim.
I desperately need to catch up. I've been watching too many movies and doing too many other things, but it's sitting there. It's in my queue.
There you go.
I'm getting there. I'm slowly getting through season 2.
Yeah, well, once you get there, I just can't wait to hear your reaction on the new one, because there's it goes way off the rails and some
actually
stuff.
The new one has gotten me more inspired to finish, because I've just heard so many good things and people are just like, this episode was mind blowing and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to catch up because I got to get through season 2 so I can see what they're talking about.
Yeah, you really do, and I could see you can kind of go through. I think almost you could probably go through the return, the reboot or whatever you want to call it, the sequel thing. I've heard it called so many things. It's not a reboot though, by far. It's just a continuation, but whatever you want to call it. You can go through these episodes, I think, a lot quicker than the original series, which is funny because it's longer, because each episode is about 57 minutes without commercials. So, but it just, I don't know. It's just, I could sit, like, part of me almost wishes I just watched it all on cassette, because the week-long wait is excruciating.
Oh, yeah. It'd be nice to be able to just binge them back to back. So let's check out the Discmemberment for this week. We have a bunch of, dare I say it, mediocrity.
Yeah.
At least nothing that really excited me. Some of you guys might enjoy some of these, but I had trouble coming up with a pick of the week this week, because I really wasn't super excited about any of them. Blu-ray releases for September 5th. First one up is 3 Hours Till Dead from 2016. An AWOL soldier with PTSD goes into hiding. Along with his brother and a few friends, they retreat into a rural farm area, unaware that the outside world has stopped functioning.
That just reminds me of like a Twilight Zone.
Yeah, but it's another zombie.
Of course it is. Yeah. We haven't had one of those in a while, so
Oh my gosh, it seems like every week there's another zombie movie
right?
coming out. But again, I don't like to badmouth the movie till I've seen it, so I'll just leave it at that. The next up is Supernatural, the complete 12th season, which this was funny. Back when, I think it was season 8, there was talk that would be their last season.
Right, I know. That's what I remember. It seems like they just keep adding seasons.
They just keep going. They just keep going and going. I've stopped watching it. I believe I stopped right at the beginning of season 8. Not that I didn't enjoy it. It's just that it's too much stuff to watch these days.
Yeah.
I kind of got burned out on the whole thing, but at some point I'll probably go back and finish it.
You gotta give it credit though. That show, like I remember when it debuted. I mean, I loved it in the first few seasons for sure. And I mean, it's not that I didn't stop liking it. It's just like same with you. I just things started becoming, and it's hard to sometimes watch like an hour-long series on network television. You know, it's like you have so many things, especially when you can watch Netflix and watch a whole season in a night if you're ambitious enough. So it's kind of hard to sometimes really get that, you know, that motivation to watch a week after week for season after season. But I'll tell you, I did not ever expect this to go, because I remember I'm like going back at like I've moved 3 times since the series started, so that's a long time.
I believe it was one of the shows that really put CW on the map.
Well, yeah, that's the modern day CW, yeah, where it had those really good, popular shows that really kept it going, because probably the revenue from that show was probably able to get, and you know what it did, I think I mean, I don't know anyone that maybe have give it credit for this, but it may have really given a lot of, you know, kind of paved the way for a lot more network horror. Because I don't think there was, you know, I mean, I know there was Buffy at that point, but that was still kind of like a tongue-in-cheeky kind of thing. But this was like, you know, this had a lot. When this first started, there was pure, like, really good horror. I mean, I know it's still hard, but you know what I'm saying? So I think it definitely gave a way to show that, like, look, a horror series can be really successful for many years on network television.
And I don't think you would have shows like Grimm or Sleepy Hollow,
right,
or more recently Riverdale. Like any of those, I think this show helped pave the way for that kind of series. So
right, yeah, I know. My brother Seth is a big fan. Him and his wife, they watch that a lot. So I remember he was all excited because I guess Alice Krieg was there. Married to Last Chiller, and she was on a couple episodes, I guess, or something. I don't know.
Oh,
so that's
cool.
why he was all excited about that.
The next one up is called A Dark Song from 2016, and it's about a determined young woman and a damaged occultist. I don't know what that means.
What, like physically damaged, mentally damaged? Yeah. What?
Risk their lives and souls to perform a dangerous ritual that will grant them what they want.
You know, I swear, I could, like, seriously, we could make a great show of just you reading these descriptions for like an hour straight.
But I actually like the premise. It sounds unique. And I have heard good things about this one. I haven't seen it yet, but the ratings are not terrible, and I've actually heard some good buzz around it, so I do want to check it out. That one was my runner-up pick of the week, and that's kind of a blind pick.
Yeah.
So fair warning. The next one up is my pick of the week, and I think it's yours too, Brian.
just because of the movie itself. Yeah.
And that is the Cabin in the Woods 4K release, which I kind of hate giving pick of the week to just basically what amounts to an upgrade.
Yeah.
But this week it just happened to turn out that way because there's not much else to speak of.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't want to. I mean, you know, at some level, it's like you got to give a pick of the week to something that you stand behind. You know. I mean, the other ones. I mean, yeah, there's some cool premises, but I don't want to give a pick of the week and then have people come back and say, "Why'd you pick that for the week?" You know, it's like
like send us bills for their Walmart purchase, or
like Steve Cohn and his Home Alone 3 pick.
Send us angry fan letters, hate mail.
Yeah, we can't.
We haven't gotten any hate mail yet. I'm surprised.
Thank God. I know we're one.
That's not an invitation.
I know. Yeah, that doesn't mean we want it. We just we've gotten most favorable things. So
we're just too lovable.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing, yeah. So we want to thank everyone, though, by the way, who does write all the nice things. We've gotten a bunch of nice things on between our Facebook page and our Twitter and stuff. So. We have great listeners. I got to tell you, the ones fans, that we know for sure, they're awesome.
Horror fans are the best.
They really are.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's you know, it's just a great community, and you know, you bond over stuff you love, so it's pretty easy to kind of find something together like that. So,
okay, this next description cracks me up.
Yeah,
it's called Vampire Cop from 1990. And like I said, I read these just as they're written on IMDb because they're hilarious.
Yeah, the adjectives alone in this win.
A cop who's actually a vampire teams up with a hot investigative journalist to stop a posh crime boss.
Like I said, the adjectives. It's a hot investigative journalist.
I want to break this sentence down because it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, so first I want to say a cop who's actually a vampire.
Right.
Now, the name of the movie is Vampire Cop. So when you say the cop is actually a vampire, you're implying that he can't be both.
Right, I know. So he's not now.
But the name of the movie implies that it is both.
I know. It's one of those ones that just it makes you scratch your head. But and my favorite was what is a posh crime boss? Is it like Posh Spice, like becoming a crime boss or something? I don't know.
I saw that, all I could think of was like what's her name from Gotham?
Oh yeah,
Fish Mooney.
Yes.
All I could think of her was like laying on like a leopard skin bed, maybe, in like a nightgown.
Yeah.
Is that a posh crime boss?
I don't know. Would you ever see that one? Like, I don't know if you follow the Clone Wars at all, the cartoon for Star Wars, where they had Zero the Hutt. He was kind of like that. He was like a weird kind of. He was a posh version of Jabba the Hutt. So,
and I want to see this hot investigative journalist.
Yeah, it's probably Tara Holt from our Jaws episode. Remember?
Yeah,
that was her earlier role. We got to get Amanda back on to promote Tara Holt's career. Yeah, no, I don't know who's in it. We should look that up. But I like that thing. And the funny thing is like, when with any of these vampire cops or maniac cops and all these things, it's like
Wolf Cop.
Yeah, Wolf Cop. It's so funny. It's like you wonder if there's like this. If they all came out of the same academy, the police academy thing, like, the supernatural police academy, that must be. I could just see them and like Sweet Chuck from like Police Academy, like, get out of my way, it's like.
I was thinking like from the files of Police Squad, Naked Gun.
Yes,
but this would be like from the files of Monster Squad.
There we go. Now, see, there's another Kickstarter. Every episode, I'm telling you, we come up with another one. Do you think he takes a bite out of crime? Okay, come on, you knew that was coming. Don't you dare say you didn't see that coming from me, anybody, because you know that was coming. But
oh my gosh, and I haven't even been drinking, and I'm laughing.
Well,
at
I
that.
have,
Wow.
but not much yet. Not enough to come up with that though, out of my own. I don't.
Well, speaking of crazy, that was a bad transition because it has nothing to do with my
it doesn't.
previous movie. But anyway, American Psycho 2, 2002. And this is one I think I've seen this a long time ago, and I remember being very, very bad.
Well, compared to the first one, which was so good,
yeah,
I hate when
it's one of those cash grabs. A girl named Rachel Newman has developed a taste for murder.
Newman, I'm sorry. Okay.
And what does murder taste like? Chicken?
I don't know. It's like, well, everything else does, I guess. Yeah, I know. What is a taste for murder? It's like
she will stand at nothing to become a college professor's assistant.
She really has lofty goals. That's really, yeah.
That sounds like would you really stand at nothing, including murder, to become a college professor's assistant?
Can't you just do that? Just show up and say, "Hi, I'm here to help." I can't imagine that you need to resort to murder to get that position. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, yeah, this one, obviously, if you couldn't tell from that beautiful description, the psycho in this American Psycho is a woman.
Isn't this is the one with Mila Kunis, correct? I think she's in this.
Yeah, she's in it.
I mean, so
that would be the only reason to watch this movie.
Right, because I pretty much watch anything with her in it, but yeah, but this might have been. I remember, and I think that's probably why I watched this with the with the hopes of her and something scantily clad.
She's one of the ones when she does those. She do Jack Daniels commercials?
Yeah,
or something?
yeah.
Like when those commercials come on TV, I just see Olivia's eyes rolling in her head as soon as she comes on, because I stop everything and I'm like just glued to the screen for that 30 seconds.
Yeah, and that's the one where she like slaps the barrel with her name on it, and you probably wish that was like you're behind, right? Like
I can see, I can literally see Olivia's eyes rolling and her going, like, man. But anyway,
poor Olivia.
Yeah. And the last one on the list I actually watched.
Oh, that's right, you did.
Because it was on YouTube. It was on YouTube. They had the full movie on YouTube.
Oh, by the way, speaking of YouTube, I found on YouTube the trailer to that one you spoke of last week with the the photograph one where you felt uncomfortable watching the trailer or something?
Oh yeah.
That's, I know what you mean now. Yeah, literally it was like boob every second in that trailer. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off and go off tangent there, but you said YouTube and it triggered it. So
yeah. Well, this one does not have boobs because it was a TV movie. But it was from 1977, a blatant Carrie ripoff, right?
I was gonna say that's exactly what I'm looking at.
Yeah, but it's called The Spell. A teenage girl taunted by her schoolmates because she's overweight uses her supernatural powers to take revenge. Now, this movie is interesting. Not interesting in an entertaining level because it was kind of boring, but it stars an extremely young Helen Hunt. Plays the girl's sister.
That's funny. She used to do a ton of those things. She did that one drug movie, remember, where she like flew out the window?
Yeah.
Like that.
But she's really good. I mean, you could tell she was, destined to become a
Oh, yeah.
a good
I mean, she was
actress.
even good in her little bit of Roller Coaster. Remember? She played the daughter? Yeah.
But what's odd about this film was I thought I knew what I was getting into. Okay, the girl's picked on because she's overweight, so she has telekinetic powers and she's going to get revenge, blah, 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 blah. I was only partially right. The thing is, the girl in this, I'm sorry, her name escapes me, but the psychic girl, she is very unsympathetic. Like, she is, like, you kind of want her to, you kind of want to pick on her.
Is she like Franklin? Like, you like kind of, like you want to feel bad for her, but you can't because she, like, says weird things?
No, it's not even that she's annoying. She's just a moody little brat. And her parents are, I thought, they'd be these overbearing parents. Her parents are like normal parents. Okay, they're a little overbearing by maybe teenage standards.
Right, well, who didn't think
but
their
who
parents,
isn't? Yeah, by my standards, I'm like, yeah, the parents are kind of right. And yeah, they get on to her a little bit too much about her weight, which I can understand. Because they're just they're concerned for her and they're concerned about how she's treated at school and that kind of thing. But it's not like they're psycho or religious fanatics or anything.
They don't lock her in a closet, right?
No, but she treats them like dirt. And the Helen Hunt character, who's the sister, she's perfectly normal. So it's not like the parents are doing anything to raise these like crazy kids. She's perfectly fine. She helps cook dinner. She helps clean up. This other girl does none of that. She does nothing. She just broods and is gloomy and meh, meh, meh. And
you make me want to see it now because I want to
You need to see it. I said it wasn't. I said it was kind of boring. It's a little slow paced, but I hesitate to say that I didn't enjoy it at some level because I just thought it was interesting how they made this lead character who I was expecting to be sympathetic from Carrie, be so unsympathetic. It was a very strange.
Yeah, because like in Carrie,
movie.
At some point you're like, good for her finally standing up. I mean, albeit a little drastic measure, but still, it's like
like I never felt sorry for this girl in this movie.
Now you make me want to see it more because I got to see this.
She's kind of the villain in a way. So
there's the twist.
Yeah,
that's why they could say it's not like Carrie because she's mean and you don't want her to succeed and you want her to lose at the end.
Oh, by the way, I meant to mention this in the first chop. I'm just going to throw it in there. Sorry for jumping out of order, and I did not finish it. I'm hesitant to say, but I found a movie on Shudder that is the most batshit crazy thing.
Oh boy,
it's called Nightmare, aka Blood Harvest.
Oh, there's the AKA again. The infamous AKA. We need to do an episode just on movies that have the AKA in it.
Yeah. But here's how I found it. I was sitting here going, you know what? It's coming out in a week or two. I want to watch a clown movie, right?
You couldn't have picked Stitches or the clown?
No, Stitches was good. I love Stitches, love the clown, all that. Okay. I was like, I need to find something just kind of offbeat, right? So I was looking at just the covers, and I see this one with this clown on it, and it's called Nightmare, aka Blood Harvest. So I click on it. Guess who plays the clown?
Bill Moseley.
Tiny Tim.
What?
Tiny Tim,
you mean
the
like
ukulele player.
Tip through to the truth.
Yeah.
Him?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So I was like, I've got to watch this. So I started watching it, and I'm about halfway through it, and I can't resist. I was gonna wait till next week after I'd seen the whole thing, but I couldn't help myself. But So Tiny Tim plays this clown called Mervo or Merville or something like that. I couldn't understand what he was saying. Mervo. And it's got the most creepiest, catchy theme song because he sings the entire theme song through the opening credits.
Oh my god. Tiny Tim does?
Yes. And he sings throughout the movie too. So he stays dressed as a clown this whole movie, and he's like, you can't tell if he's good or bad. Like there was a scene where he's got some woman tied up, so obviously he's not all there.
Can't be that good.
But his brother and our heroine of the story, I guess she's a heroine, our girl lead, they know him. Like, he's the brother, and he just kind of went off his rocker, and they're like, oh yeah, that's Mervo, whatever. We know he dresses like a clown. He's a little creepy, but harmless, But Tiny Tim goes to this movie, and he's not a great actor, obviously.
No, he's not.
But
why'd they give him a role?
But he goes full psycho in this movie, and he's singing all the time throughout it.
Oh my god, this sounds like the biggest me movie in the planet.
You've got to go check this out. I'm gonna finish it tonight if I have time, because it's I couldn't tear my eyes away from it.
Oh my god, yeah, this sounds like this sounds like one we might need to focus on for a full episode at one point. This is right up there.
I kind of want to go back and watch the beginning so I can hear that theme song again, because it's so crazy.
And if not, and once we do, by the way, you guys will all hear it, because Tim will play it.
Gosh. I might actually put it at the end of this episode as a special treat.
From what you're just sounding like, I may have to make this my ringtone.
Yeah.
For when you call, Tim, Yeah. Make it your ringtone.
Call me Tiny Tim.
Tiny Tim, there you go. See, it's appropriate. There you go. It's got the Tim.
Well, theatrical releases was nothing again this week.
That's 3 in a row.
Who cares?
Crickets.
It's coming.
But yeah.
It is getting awesome reviews.
Yeah, and I keep seeing the little snippets on TV. I'm like, I cannot wait. Wait.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going opening night.
I could see myself actually seeing this multiple times in the theater.
Yeah, I told Olivia, I was like, I'm going opening night with or without you. Figure something out, because I'm there.
Yeah.
So we'll see. All right. Well, we've got a big old load of Halloween movies to go over.
As obviously we are finishing our traditional second set of for our summer slaycation. Michael Myers is the topic, and this one I got to tell you was some of these were rough to get through, and I dedicated podcast co-host that I am, literally watched both versions of part 6, which I wish on nobody.
This is definitely the bad half, in my opinion, of the series.
It really is, and it's a shame because it shouldn't have to be. And there's some bright spots in each and every one. I will even say, even this one, there were some moments that I liked, and I think that I gained possibly watching it from this time. So, I mean, I'm not I don't regret any of it, because I'll watch anything like this, but I don't regret it. But it just, there's some interesting things that I picked up watching it this time, and actually, and for some reason, I'll go through this later a little bit more, but I thought I used to like the producer's cut more, but now I realize I think I like the theatrical cut more, which we'll go into better explanation later. But yeah, so.
So, of course, first up is Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers.
Which had a couple of names, too, right? It had actually 6 in the title, and it had 666 one time, right?
Right, yeah. It's known by a number of names. I think the official is Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Right. This was from 1995, directed by Joe Chappelle, written by Daniel Ferrens, starring Donald Pleasance, Paul Rudd, of all people, Marianne Hagan, and Mitchell Ryan.
Yeah, there were other people. I just didn't put them in.
Yeah, well, I usually just list the top billed folks. But, of course, this one was notorious for quite some time as being just a god-awful dreck. And it essentially killed the series for a little while.
Yeah, it did.
Now, they finally ended up doing a director's cut, which, in terms of director's cut, probably changed more than just about any other movie I've ever seen do a director's cut.
It did. It literally changed the whole... the whole ending is different to a point where it's... You were actually going to try and continue the series from this point, you know, a writer would literally have to write 2 separate stories because to me it's that drastic of a difference at the end.
Right. Yeah, it's not just a little 3 seconds of extra blood or a decapitation here or there. It makes major changes to the story in an attempt to try to fix it, because the original film, the theatrical release, was so confusing. And I know you said you like the theatrical release more, but there's probably reasons behind that.
Yeah.
Because as it stood, before you knew there was a producer's cut, the story was very all over the map.
Yeah.
Like, it was hard to even understand what was going on in the film.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, though, it's like, the more they tried to explain it by the producer's cut, it almost, like, made it worse for me in this time. And because this is the first time now where I've watched them so close together. Now, granted, when I used to watch the original, you know, the original version of it, the only one that they really could get, I'd seen it enough times. And then I remember when it came out we got our box sets, I went right, that was the first thing I watched, was the producer's cut of that, because I've heard so many things, it explains it, it fixes it, and I'm like, and I watched it, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I see this now, oh, okay, it's gonna make sense. But then, so for this podcast, I watched both, relatively, I think, a day apart. So they were both fresh in my head, and I realized they actually took out Michael Myers more, it seems like, from the producer's cut than they did in the theatrical cut. There's a whole bunch more of him at the end of the producer's cut, going through the when they go to the finale in Smith Grove. They both finales take place there in the underbellies of Smith Grove, but there's a lot more Michael in the theatrical version, which, it's a Halloween movie, it should have it. It seems like the other one went more into the whole trying to explain this whole thorn cult, or what was it the Curse of the Thorn or the Mark of the Thorn?
Yeah.
It went more into that they forgot the essence of the movie being about Michael Myers, and to me that's unforgivable.
Yeah, it's almost you wish they could come up with some third cut that that blended them a little better, because like you said, it's you could, because the first one's almost incomprehensible in terms of story, because there's not enough left in, and then like you said, the producer's cut focuses so heavily on this Mark of the Thorn and Celtic runes and all this crazy stuff that it kind of detracts from the stuff you really want to see, which is Michael Myers killing people.
Right, which at least, like I said, and at least the theatrical cut had that great Michael Myers chasing them at the end. And, and then, like, in the producer's cut, they have him stopped by the little rocks that Paul Rudd puts out. I'm like, really? Come on. What the heck is that? If that's all it took was rocks, I mean, come on. He hasn't walked by rocks. There was just so many things wrong with these films. And this is what's funny about it, right? Like, okay, Paul Rudd was who I, was one of my favorite actors, and I actually got to meet in person, like I said, and he's a great guy.
Tell us that story. How'd you meet Paul Rudd?
Well, it wasn't under the greatest circumstance. It was at I don't know if I mentioned, I know I've told you, Tim, my best friend Mark, his sister was Adrienne Shelley, who was tragically murdered. She was the one that did Waitress. And so it was and I guess her and her husband were friendly with Paul Rudd. And so he was at one of there was like a tribute. They have a Adrienne Shelley Foundation. So it was one of I would go each year they would have like sometimes a screening, sometimes just a speakers. But, and anyway, they usually have a little after party. So he was there at one of the after parties. So I went up to him and I was talking to him, because my friend Mark and I, we were actually talking to him about, This Is 40, Knocked Up, and how I used to do this line. And actually it did make him laugh, because I did an imitation of him in one of the movies, and he kind of chuckled. So that was one of my claim to fame. But yeah, so he was super nice guy. I mean, we talked to him for a good like 20 minutes, I'd say, and he's just like, just easygoing, relaxed. I feel bad that this was his first foray into the film, but obviously he's gotten past this and had a stellar career, especially in comedy. So. But yeah, so he was good in this. He wasn't bad in it. Of course, he played Tommy Doyle, and it was funny. It's like, I wonder how much they try to either mimic or try to avoid the similarities with Tommy being a name and being this character too much like the Tommy in Friday the 13th. Because, he was, like, sitting there obsessed, did all these newspaper clippings, and, and, like, he was trying to figure out the whole reason behind why, Michael was the way he was and stuff like that. So I wonder if that had a play into his character, because he was kind of like, he went from this, like, total, like, really, like, creepy guy in the beginning, where he was kind of, like, obsessed, and at the point where he was, he kind of straightened out towards the end of the film to a little bit more normal. But the whole thing was just weird because, yes, Tommy Doyle was traumatized as a child, but where was he this whole time trying to hunt Michael? It seems like the whole thing was happening in front of him in Haddonfield, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it's not like it didn't seem like in the movie he had just turned 18 or something, or,
right.
Or he like is a minor the whole time until just now. He's an older guy. Well, he's in his early 20s at least.
Right, and he's been, so, his whole life apparently was based, I don't know. I may be nitpicking at that point, but, and believe me, that is the least problems that this film has. He was actually one of the bright spots in my opinion. And, and the thing is, it's like, there's some things that what made me angry about this film is that there was so many things that either were just completely outlandish or plot points they tried to develop that really, if you think about it at the core, had no reason to be in the movie. And now one of them I'll touch on is so basically this other family, this other, I guess the brother of the Strodes from the first movie owns they're living in the Myers house now, and one of them is their daughter with a son. And throughout the movie, he's getting that man in black guy is kind of like, he's seeing the vision of him, and he's telling him to kill for me, and he's seeing Michael Myers. But if you think about it, why? Neither ending explains why he's seeing that, other than that he's a descendant of the Strodes, which isn't even the family that Michael Myers came from. Think about it. Why?
Well, again,
did I miss it? I've watched it. I know I've watched it enough time. Maybe I was so close to it that I missed something else.
You're trying. This movie was trying to explain, or made these Herculean. Is that a word?
Yeah, Herculean. Yeah, it is.
Herculean efforts to explain the Man in Black from Part 5, which made no sense in the first place because nobody knew who that was supposed to be.
Right.
Even the people making the movie didn't know who it was supposed to be.
Right.
So now you've got a movie trying to explain something that nobody probably should have never been in 5 in the first place.
Right. Yeah.
So,
it just, and it like, and like even in like, okay, so the producer's cut ending, I figured they kidnapped the kid, but it was really the baby they needed. And I'll get to my issue with the baby in a second. But so they bring him in there, but they're sacrificing Kara all of a sudden and the baby. So what does the son have to do with anything? Was it just to throw you off? Was it their attempt at a red herring? Because if the movie wasn't confusing enough, let's throw one more plot in that goes nowhere to it. But like I said, so back to the baby here. Okay, so apparently, through both versions, the theatrical version only touches on it, but apparently it implied that Michael was the one that impregnated Jamie, which is just bizarre enough.
Don't even get me started.
That's bad enough. And in the producer's cut, they actually show a scene where he's like walking up to her. With, you can kind of imagine what's the next scene. Thank God they didn't show.
That's just gross.
Yeah, it's just, it was not needed. It made no sense why that was in the movie. But, so this baby is crying, literally, from the second you see this child, all the way till she hides, to the point of where she hides the baby in the bus depot. And it miraculously stops crying for, 24 hours? No one in the bus depot finds this child in there. No one sees the blood that Paul Rudd walks into and manages to see in 2 seconds flat. It's just it's full of ridiculous scene after ridiculous scene. And then they piece it together and try and with this really intense subplot that they're trying to explain, which already goes to what Tim and I have said we cannot stand multiple times when you try and explain Michael Myers. The beauty of him is that there was no explanation. He was this quiet kid that suddenly murdered his family, his sister, and then went on this unexplainable rage, which was what made him so frightening, is that Loomis, who is a trained psychologist, could not figure out, just basically a guy who was a medical guy basically came up with he's pure evil, which is not a medical diagnosis, but that's what he came up with because that's how he was. So the fact that this went into so many points, I know, I'm sorry I'm going off on a crazy rant here, but there's all these things to try and explain something that should have never attempted to be explained.
Yeah, I don't understand why they keep trying to come up with these explanations. Like, why does it matter what evil drives him? Why can't he just be evil? I don't get it.
Exactly.
I know we've talked about it before. Why can't he just be evil? Why does it have to be a rune and a black magic and all that? Are you just kidding me?
And a thorn and the fact that Loomis never noticed this years. He studied the guy for how long? He can't figure out he's got a little mark on his thing.
Yeah, but Paul Rudd can figure it out in like 5 seconds.
That's what cracks me up. Yeah, it's like Paul Rudd who like figures out the whole thing, and they go into like, and there's like multiple explanations in it. Like you got Paul Rudd explaining it. You got that Mrs. Blankenship who's either like can't hear anything, or then all of a sudden she's going on this full on diatribe of Halloween. Which actually, if you ever watch the trailer to this, you think it's going to be like the best Halloween yet, which is kind of funny. So I swear to God, they should give an Academy Award to the guy that edited the trailer. Because the trailer, like you're like, I saw the trailer afterwards. I'm like, wow, this looked cool. But it's not. Yeah, I mean, she does this whole...
I remember being disappointed by this when I saw it in the theater. Like, I was crushed because this movie looked badass when it came out. I remember watching the original trailer and thinking this was going to be the best Halloween movie.
Yeah, it looked like it. And they kept saying, finally, Michael, you'll find out and all this, like, this build up for it. And it was just, and there's like weird plot points they throw in. And one of them I singled out because it drives me crazy. That Mrs. Blankenship lady, when she does her whole thing to Kara about the boy, where she goes, he hears the voices too, just like that Michael Myers boy, and says she was babysitting him in the first one. Where was she? They literally did a tracking shot of him all the way through the house. You're saying this babysitter would be nowhere to be found?
Oh my gosh.
That infuriated me. Now, unless I just misunderstood that line multiple times, that's kind of what she said. She says, I was babysitting with him, which is weird enough. What do you mean with him? But still, she's babysitting him. So I am
even the dialogue's not right.
Yeah, I mean, so
hey, there is one thing that this movie got right. The mask.
Yes,
the mask
exactly.
was actually pretty good.
Yes.
Now, the only problem with it was almost perfect, except the hair was jacked up again.
Yeah, I don't know why they can't get like
long.
a stylist on board to figure out the mask. And the thing is, too, did they... I didn't look this up. I meant to look this up before we should, so maybe, were there 2 Michael Myers actors in this by chance? Because I swear to God, sometimes he was pudgy in one scene and sometimes he wasn't.
Well, you caught him after the catering truck arrived.
I guess. I don't know. Or did they go back and do reshoots or something? Because I noticed it in the producer's cut more towards the end, where he looked kind of pudgy. And I'm wondering if they to fill in some of the scenes, they just threw someone else in there. I don't know. Hey,
Johnny, get in here, put his mask on.
Come here, wait. I don't care if you're 40 pounds heavier. Just get in there, yeah. And then I have another couple of little nitpicks again. Okay, Jamie, right? She's kidnapped, supposedly, at the end of 5, and what is she, 12 years old? Right? So, again, she comes out of this thing. She's apparently been trapped in this asylum for years, but she gets out at 18 and can miraculously drive again. So, obviously, there is a driver's ed program at Smith's Grove Sanitarium. Because that's another one that just comes out and can instantly drive.
Oh, yeah. So, I just looked it up. Yes, there was another Michael Myers.
Look how observant I am. Look at that.
Because George Wilbur was the primary Michael Myers,
right.
And then I see there's a Michael Lerner as an additional shape.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Shape was round because he was a little bit heavier than the other one. Well, I'm glad it wasn't our good friend George Wilbur because I like him. So
yeah, I like George Wilbur.
So
anyway.
nothing against the other guy, but yeah, you might want to lay off the donuts.
Here's additional shape. That's how appropriate.
That's the best credit ever. Additional shape. Wow.
Just all happens to be in the old beer gut.
Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? We all have them. I can say I got one going right now, but But yeah, and so one other little notice. I said this is just a little funny trivia scene. Actually, two maybe. So one, the DJ character was actually apparently that role was offered to Howard Stern, but he turned it down.
Interesting.
And so it's funny. I read an article. I don't remember. I'm sorry if the person that wrote this article ends up listening to the podcast, because I forgot to write it down where I read this. But it was a brilliant line. They said, if only he did not turn it down, because the stories on set from this film, from his point of view, would have been legendary. And I agree. I think him telling these things, it was funny. And then one more little note in the beginning scene, where Loomis is in his little cabin in the woods, I guess, and he's sitting there, and the guy says, he's dead, and he's like, "No, dead, just very much retired." That scene?
Yeah.
But if you listen in the background, there's a funny line about the DJ saying, "Oh, what's next? Sending him to space?" And that was actually a play on, originally John Carpenter, I guess, had quoted that he said if he were to ever come back and write a version, a new episode of this series, he would send Michael to space. So it's kind of funny that they threw that in there as kind of like a joke.
Yeah.
So I like that. But one other thing, actually, and this is just on a whole, but I'll say it here because I wrote it in the notes at this part. You ever notice how Halloween has never shied away from killing likable characters in it? If you notice, like in 4 and 5, they killed Tina and Rachel, really likable characters. Danny Trejo's character, as we get to in the zombie film. And in this, like the mom in part 6, it's like Kim Darby. She's like the mom in a couple of films. Like she was in Better Off Dead. She's always like the funny mom character. And she was like, I felt bad. She was already had enough trouble. And she got such a brutal death. A big axe in the face. I mean, so it's I will give credit to Halloween too. They don't succumb to like, okay, you know what, everyone likes this person, so we're not going to kill them. And they've killed dogs constantly, which is usually a taboo other than Steven Spielberg.
That's what my wife hates about these movies. Like, she can't stand when an animal gets killed in a movie.
Yeah, and poor Jamie has lost 2 dogs, I think, in the course of her tenure. But yeah, so I think we've explained Halloween 6 enough. Obviously we didn't really go into all the details, but do we really need to? Seriously, it's out there. If you want to see
it for yourself.
Yeah,
it's almost impossible to explain anyway, which is why I don't even try.
Yeah,
it's so convoluted.
Yeah.
But the next film on the list got a much better reception, and I remember seeing this one in the theater and just having a ball because we were all so excited.
I was gonna say, I wish I didn't get to see this in the theater, and I'm just watching it again this time, realized like this must have been such a fun movie to see.
Oh my gosh, it was so fun. It's definitely ranks right up there with Jason Goes to Hell, with one of my best big franchise movie experiences. But of course, we're talking about Halloween H2O 20 years later.
Which I think has the worst title, though, in all of Halloween.
Yeah, I don't
like
that's
that.
so weird. But anyway.
But
1998, directed by Steve Miner.
Friday the 13th
Friday the
fame.
13th, yep. Written by Robert Zappa and Matt Greenberg. Starring Jamie Lee Curtis is back.
She's back.
Yeah, Adam Arkin, Josh Hartnett, Michelle Williams, Jodie Lynn O'Keefe, and LL Cool J. Which, I was about to say, this is a great cast, and then I got to LL.
But
Cool
he's
J.
Funny in it. I like him.
He is good.
I like his role.
He's actually is very likable.
Yeah, he's very enjoyable. He's good comic relief. He has a lot of good funny lines in it.
So this one kind of wipes out the continuity of 4, 5, and 6,
which I blame 6 on.
Yeah,
specifically,
because 4 and 5 should have been able to stand alone. But anyway,
yeah, only if they made that just kind of so close.
So it brings back Laurie Strode, and just some of the little cool things that here in the rundown we had. Opens with a familiar face, Loomis's nurse from parts 1 and 2.
Yeah,
makes a cameo. It was neat that they started. They try to tie it back into the original films,
right? Which I loved
with these cameos and things. Speaking of cameos, had a weird one from Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, and I mean, at that time, was it considered a cameo? Because he wasn't like a superstar at that point. I know he did Third Rock by that point, but now it would definitely be considered a cameo.
Yeah, I think it's more of a hindsight cameo than it is. But I've always liked him.
Oh yeah, he's one of my favorites.
He's very talented. If you ever seen him on, he did I believe it was on Saturday Night Live. He did a recreation of the Make 'em Laugh number.
Oh yes, it was his opening
from Singing in the Rain, which was jaw dropping.
He's truly one of the, not to go off too much of a tangent, he's one of the most talented actors out there today, I think. He can do anything.
You should go look that clip up because that's pretty astounding.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, he can do he can do a lot of he's got a lot of versatility.
Yeah, he got the great skate in the face sequence. So in this one the storyline's pretty cool. So Lori is still suffering mental trauma from what she endured in Halloween 1 and 2. And she has a son now, grown son, who's played by Josh Hartnett, and she's working at a private school. And she is very overprotective of her son because of what had happened to her.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. And another great, and this isn't even a cameo because she's actually in it, is Janet Leigh,
right,
of Psycho fame, who is Jamie Lee Curtis's mom, of course. Also is in this, which is fantastic seeing them together.
And she's got that great little funny line, that little thing, everyone deserves a good scare. I've had my share. I mean, that's like one of the best. Like, she's awesome. Yeah, I love that scene. That, in fact, if there's like, I know this sounds silly, but it's one of my favorite in the entire like series, the Halloween series. That little interaction, because it's just so perfect.
I've got a really awkward autograph of her in her bra.
Janet Leigh.
Janet Leigh, yeah. It's a scene from Psycho, but she's in a black bra, which was kind of really taboo back then. I guess. But yeah, it's a weird publicity still, but but I do have her autograph, so that's pretty cool. Because she's one of my all time favorites.
Oh right, I mean, she's one of those true legends,
Yeah, so I love Brian's little snarky asides in the rundown. Michael eventually makes his way all the way from Illinois to California. Where was he all this time?
Where was he? Really? I mean, seriously, was he hanging out?
Does he have AAA? Is the question.
Exactly, because that took a long time. I mean, he did switch cars. At least I explained that. It's because I always wondered. I'm like, the one thing I can't figure out is how the hell he gets gas in the car. Now it explains that when he runs out of gas, he gets a new car. So at least that plot hole was filled pretty quickly.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, if he pays at the pump, he doesn't have to go in. And just make sure he takes the mask off first.
True.
He'd probably be okay.
That's true, because, he could just drive away and not pay, I guess. I don't know. You'd have to find those gas stations.
That's right. I'm assuming he had a debit card. Sorry. He probably doesn't have a debit card.
No, but, there are some of those pumps that where you can pay ahead of time and then you got to go in. I don't think they have those as many more. But remember, this was a while ago, this movie now. So maybe they had him back then where he could just pay and then go in. Or who knows? I don't know. Maybe he goes and crushes the larynx of somebody in there and takes their debit card. I guess this was just so easy. He found he basically just grabbed a woman's purse and grabbed her keys. But
this is why you don't ask questions about horror movies,
you really
and don't explain everything. Because if you're going to explain why he's evil, then you need to explain to me how he has a debit card.
Exactly. Yeah. Where are the part 6 people now? Probably didn't go. Surprised he didn't go into the whole thing, or how he signed. Yeah, he did sign up for AAA, and he's got like points or something, and now he's got airline miles now from using that stolen debit card or something. Yeah. Come on.
Oh gosh. Anyway, obviously Donald Pleasance had passed away since this movie was made, so. No Dr. Loomis, which is good.
Right? They didn't recast him. That would have been.
Yeah, they couldn't have done that.
That would have been a slap in the face. At the end, they gave him a remembrance, even though it's been, I think it was 3 years at this point after he passed away. But they still gave him a kind of in memory of Donald Pleasance, because to create a new Loomis. I mean, I know obviously Rob Zombie did it, but was a whole reboot. But for this being in the series, he just needed to be, as sad as it was not to kind of have that dynamic of him in it. They did the right move there, so kudos to them.
But anyway, so what plays out is essentially Michael arrives in California and stalks
with sunglasses.
I had this vision of CSI Miami where he's like pulls the sunglasses down and says something. It says something snarky. I just strode in to see.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and Tim said it in his dulcet tone, so it's perfect.
Yeah. But anyway, so he comes to this private school, obviously, to kill Lori and terrorize her son and rack up a little bit of a body count. Yeah, but some of the kills in this were really cool. I remember the one with was it Jodie Lynn O'Keefe that just gets stabbed repeatedly?
Yeah, well, she gets caught in a dumbwaiter at first. And, like, her leg gets, like, mangled, and she just gets it's long, drawn out.
And she's, like, crawling.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, so brutal.
Yeah. And it's funny because you figured, usually with these things like this, they want to really ramp up the body count. And it started off with a bang. You had 3 kills in the first, 5 minutes of that movie. Or maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes. So within the first sequence, you had the 3 kills. So right off the bat, you thought you were in for, a bloodfest. But then it kind of went for more of the story, which was okay because it was just setting up what you needed to set up. So it's, it's forgivable that there was a gap between.
When I rewatched it recently for the podcast, I was kind of surprised because I'd obviously seen it in the theater. All you remember is the kills.
Right. So
I was kind of surprised that it actually takes a kind of a break from all the bloodbath and kind of has a lot of story elements and stuff too that probably wasn't picking up on as much when I first saw it because I was just there to watch, the slaughter. But yeah, this is one of my definitely one of my I can't say it's one of my favorite entries because obviously 1, 2, 4, and 5 are my absolute favorite. But after those, this would be my next favorite.
Yeah, I really enjoy this one. It's just a fun movie. It's it's got it's a little bit different formula, obviously, than the ones the original 2. But the fact that just alone that you're bringing back Laurie Strode, you're bringing back that element. It's almost like a rematch between her and Michael, kind of a thing. It's it's a fun movie, and it's definitely. I mean, especially after the misery that 6 was, to bring it back like this, And
I'm telling you, when in the theater, and I still remember to this day, when Laurie confronts Michael at the end, like the whole theater was just screaming and applauding. Like it was so much fun.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, I mean, that must have been. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm sure I regret not being able to see that in the theater, but I still remember why. As soon as I got to watch it, I was just like, "Wow, this is what you wanted." Kind of like to happen. Like if they were smart, they should have just had her. They could have done this earlier a little bit with the in 6 and really made it like maybe she faked her death that whole time and she comes back to rescue Jamie or something. They could have, there's so many ways it could have gone. Yeah. And so I'm glad they tried to fix the series back on track, at least with this one.
Yeah, I always look at this one, when I look at the whole series as a whole, this one always stands out as one of the top tier entries. So
yes.
I have 1 and 2 on one plane. I have 4 and 5 on another plane. And then H2O is kind of just barely below those, and then there's everything else.
Yeah.
So this one's definitely worth your time.
Yeah. So, and then obviously, so just normally that we don't go through scene by scene, but obviously the ending. It's funny. I didn't notice. That because I always for some reason I always, when I see the next one, which we'll go into in a second, how they do that exposition on why Michael is still alive. This is the first time I really caught that he did actually make a maneuver, like to stop her from killing him in the end of H2O, which I never caught before. Mm-hmm. So, but as we'll get into this, we'll explain. We'll go back to that.
Yeah. So next up was Halloween Resurrection from 2002, directed by Rick Rosenthal, returning from part 2. Woohoo! Written by Larry Brand and Sean Hood, starring Jamie Lee Curtis. Busta Rhymes, who is no LL Cool J.
No, but he's continuing the rapper trend, apparently, that the movies are going for.
Bianca Kalich?
Kalich. Yeah, it's Kalich.
Kalich.
Yeah, it's a silent, the way they spell it. Just because I really liked her as an actress. She was good in that Rules of Engagement sitcom. So,
Sean Patrick Thomas, Daisy McCracken, Katie Sackhoff, Luke Kirby, Thomas Ian Nicholas, Ryan Merriman, and Tyra Banks, of all people.
Yeah.
But this one, I had a feeling was going to be bad when I first saw the trailer, because you could tell this one was a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
And that trick was, hey, everybody, we're going to do a found footage Halloween movie. Essentially found footage.
Right.
Because the premise is that they are going to make a reality show of these kids hanging out and spending the night in the Michael Myers house. And of course, as you would expect, Michael Myers is going to come and start killing people in real life.
Right.
And is it a reality show or is it real life?
And see,
or is that a fake murder or not? I mean, come on.
Yeah, and that was my fear when they were doing, when there was the rumors of that being for the Friday the 13th reboot a couple of years back before, they eventually said they wasn't doing it and they were doing, it eventually got canceled anyway, but they were talking about doing a found footage version. I was afraid that's what it was going to be, like a documentary film crew going to Crystal Lake to try and find the mystery, and then they just because I'm like, all right, well, that's been done in too many movies. Why put it to Friday the 13th,
By the way, I forgot to mention the mask of H2O, which was pretty good, but they had like 4 different masks in that movie. So you can see
why
the mask
did they have
change. I don't know. You can see the mask change from scene to scene, and it's very annoying because some of the masks are completely different than the other ones. And there's some parts where you can see his eyes, which sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, don't show his eyes. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know why that was like. Yeah, I noticed that too. I thought it was just, I don't know. I thought I was maybe just getting confused with other masks or something, but yeah. No.
Now, the reason I brought up the mask from H2O is because I wanted to mention the mask in Resurrection, which is actually really, really good.
It was actually creepy, this one.
Yeah, it for as bad as the movie is, they actually got the mask almost dead on in this one. So props to them for that. That's about the only good part of this movie, though. So, okay, continue.
Yeah. Well, what this one is like, this one actually is funny. Is bad, it's cheesy. I mean, I still enjoyed it because it was the fun. It was kind of, but not as like a Halloween film. Kind of again, it's like I liked it just for, I just watched it because I enjoyed it. But again, because it had a cast that was kind of fun in it. I think that was it. But it wasn't really I would not say a good film. However, it does have a very, very iconic scene for the entire series where Michael finally gets Laurie.
For that reason alone, you can't completely dismiss this movie out of hand because it does have the climactic final confrontation between Laurie and Michael. So I'll give him that. This DVD, by the way, had one of the most boring extra features I've ever seen on any DVD.
Oh my God, what was it?
They have a feature on this DVD that is basically unedited footage from the webcams or whatever they put up.
Oh God!
So the movie was obviously everybody's got a little handheld cam, and there's like static cameras and stuff put up to mimic this reality show. Well, this extra is basically the footage from those cameras just playing.
Oh, for God's sake! Who wants that?
And it's like over half an hour long. And I left it run. I mean, I watched it because I'm a completist. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to watch every extra on here. So I just kind of left it running to the side while I was doing other things. And it's literally that. I mean, it's just so boring. To me, it's the single most boring DVD feature I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. This one, it's so funny because this one that it made such classic. I mean, it kind of blended into too many of the mainstream, like, classic horror cliches. Like, you had Busta Rhymes dropping those one-liners throughout the movie, which I don't want to repeat because although we do have the explicit tag, I mean, if I say some of his lines, we're pretty much going to hit that, but...
You hit on a perfect point, and that is this movie was created for theater audiences. Yeah. This was a date night movie for everybody to scream and laugh at Busta Rhymes' corny jokes. And I mean, it's got that feel of just this generic studio teenager date movie. Right. That's what it is.
And literally, if they were allowed to have profanity on like regular TV, to that degree, they had like half the line was filled with these like commercial lines. Like the trick or treat, mother effer. I mean, come on, that's like the way that commercial would have ended. Now in theaters, Halloween Resurrection. It's like it's like that, or it's like the Will Smith Welcome to Earth. Like in Independence Day.
Give us a soundbite we can use in the TV spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's got all those like classic like, I mean, Grant, and yeah, you know what? Of course we eat them up when we're in the theater and see him, but like, does it make a good movie? Most of the time, no.
No, I mean, most Halloween fans will tell you that Resurrection is one of their least favorites. If not, some people think it's their least favorite.
I mean, it gets points for me for having Bianca Kalich in it, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's about all you need to know about that one.
Yeah.
Because the next two movies are much more interesting to discuss.
And the funny thing is, though, they did set up as if there could have been another sequel to this. You got the ending, but... it didn't go anywhere, and that was the end
Thank
of that
goodness.
series. Yeah.
So, of course, the next up, I don't think anybody saw coming. I didn't see it coming.
Mm-mm.
Was a remake, a total reboot of Halloween by none other than Rob Zombie. Now, like I said before on here many times, I'm a bit of a Rob Zombie apologist, even though I don't like all of his films and did not particularly care for these two. It's not because I dismiss him out of hand like some people do.
Right.
But we'll go into the movies and why I personally didn't care for some of those.
Yeah, and these are the toughest too for me because I really like Rob Zombie and I like what he does. And I think if there was no previous Halloween movies, these would I'd probably love this.
Right.
But there's not, and I think that's the I can't let that go. You know, we loved Michael Myers for a specific reason. We loved the characters for a specific reason. To change that so dramatically, which, you know, it's his every right to. It's at that point, he says this is a reimagining it, and he makes no qualms about it, that's what he's reimagining it, and he's, like I said, he's got every right to do what he wants. And he didn't make bad films. He just didn't make the Halloween films I think everyone wanted.
Yeah, and I'll bring that up in a minute because I definitely don't want to disparage his right to bring something different to the movie because nobody wants to see a remake that's a shot by shot.
Right, and didn't Psycho do that?
The
They did that for
yeah, they did a
so
shot by shot, which was just completely pointless.
Yeah.
But as we're going through this cast list, let's just kind of comment on the characters and stuff they play. You had Scout Taylor Compton,
another 3-person name for Laurie Strode.
Who's playing Laurie Strode, and I actually kind of liked the fact that he attempted to make her a more modern teenager.
Right.
So where Laurie was kind of the original Laurie I'm talking about was kind of this bookish, kind of shy, for lack of a better word, kind of that time, early, late 70s, early 80s type teenager. Scout is much more modern.
Yeah.
Much more brash.
I liked her.
And spirited. I really liked her in this. I kind of liked what they did with the character. They kind of, whereas Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie was kind of strong-willed on the inside, Scout's Laurie is kind of, you can tell she's kind of got that strong will on the outside.
Right.
So similar characters, but just a different way of approaching it.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
No, it does. It does. Yeah, and actually, if you think about all the characters, and I know this might sound like it's like blasphemous, but out of all the characters you want to say I think that they represented the best is probably Laurie Strode. And you figure she's like the one that, how dare you touch what she's like in it. But he did a good job with her reimagining, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Then, of course, you have the great Malcolm McDowell, who plays Dr. Loomis. And if you ask me to recast Dr. Loomis, I think this is an inspired choice.
Right.
Now, whether it came off correctly, I don't know, because the Dr. Loomis of the Halloween remakes is just, it's kind of weird because we've even in the previous episode we were talking about how Dr. Loomis is such a jackass.
Yeah. But in a different way.
But it's a likable jackass.
Right.
Whereas Malcolm McDowell's Loomis is very unlikable.
He is. And it's hard to say that. I don't like saying it, but it's true.
Well, I never felt that the original Dr. Loomis was conceited, or I felt that his brashness was an attempt to help people.
Yeah.
He knew how dangerous Michael was. And so even though he came off as kind of coarse and kind of manic at times, it was only because he was so devoted and so concerned with stopping Michael.
Right. He was like he was driven towards that.
Yeah.
That.
Whereas this Dr. Loomis just seems very self-centered. He's doing his book tour. He's making money off of the whole thing. And you just get the feeling that he's only in this for himself.
Yeah. I mean, I know that, yeah. I mean, that and that's the thing. It's like that, that with the book and stuff is more in the second one, but still, it's like you still see the like that arrogance of that character kind of placing the seeds in the first one, where he just, I don't know. There's something off, and for me to ever criticize a Malcolm McDowell performance is like, it really is like, it conflicts me inside because he's so great and he's one of my favorite actors, and it's like, he's one of those people where like, oh yeah, you put him in anything and he'll thrive, but as we see, it doesn't always hit the mark, and it's not that he did a bad performance. What he got, he probably nailed perfectly what was written and what Rob Zombie wanted. It's just, I don't think it fit the Loomis character based on. And like I said, we're still probably holding on to the original Loomis, which, how can you blame us? I mean, it was a legendary character, and but
well, just like we liked Laurie,
yeah,
because we liked what she brought to the character, but it was more of a characterization than it was the actor, is because he did fine, but they just took the character in a direction I did not care for.
Right.
You have Tyler Mane, of course, Brad Dourif.
Oh my God, I can't say enough good about him though.
I love Brad Dourif to
one
death.
of the best. Yeah, he's one of the best. And actually, think about this. I almost would have liked to see him as Loomis. I could see him doing a good Loomis, actually, because he's got such a.
He probably could have pulled it off.
Because when the way he does it, he's got that just something about his voice. I think would have played well. I don't know, but.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the best parts of the two remakes. Like, he just does a phenomenal job. He's both sympathetic as the sheriff,
right,
and but you kind of feel sorry for him on one hand,
yeah,
but you kind of respect him on the other. It's a great performance.
And I mean, I know we're kind of going between 1 and 2 here a little bit, but he by far was the best thing about 2, I think.
Yeah, his scene and you'll know the one I'm talking about in 2, where he discovers his daughter, is just heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
It's a fabulous performance.
Yeah, in fact, it's like he may have out of everyone in the 2 movies, I think by far he's the true standout performance out of both. I mean, it's like he's that good.
You've got Dag Ferch.
You know what?
Ferch?
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine on that name.
He plays the young Michael Myers, and
yeah, I
don't even want to get into why I don't care to know what Michael Myers was like as a kid, because I think it just completely shreds any mystery or scariness around him.
What bothered me about this, now that we brought him up, I was going to save it once we got through all the cast, but kind of was a good segue here. Here's the thing that bothered me so much about this Michael Myers as a kid, because the first movie, and I think I touched on this the last episode, but so in the first one, it looked like he lived in a nice, clean-cut, really family-oriented neighborhood, and the fact that all of a sudden this quiet little neighborhood is rattled by this quiet kid all of a sudden just
out of nowhere.
Yeah, out of nowhere. This, it's like you almost could see, he's like almost like the stereotypical birth of a serial killer / mass murderer. He had a stripper for a mom. He was abused by
dad.
Yeah, and then this friend, he was outcast at school, and they hated him. He tortured animals. I mean,
he's wearing heavy metal shirts.
Yeah,
and thrash metal and stuff. I'm like,
why? It's just, and it's nothing against Dag Ferch, because he did what he got. I mean, he did good with what they gave him, so it's not his fault. It's just it'd be like, well, it's the same. It's like showing Jake Lloyd as Darth Vader as a kid. Yeah,
like it just rips any mystique or evil or anything away from the character when you show them as a kid.
Yeah, and it's because it needs such a performance that's usually beyond those kids' years.
I mean, who wants to see Ted Bundy, the elementary school years?
Yeah, right?
Who wants to see that?
I can imagine. Yeah, it's just, it really is like, it's just not to say, and he lives in this, like, when he lived in that house, it was a disarray. I mean, what person wouldn't come out of that deranged? It's like, I mean, that's the one part that I'm like, and it was such an easy explanation, too, which I'm a little disappointed. Again, nothing against Rob Zombie. It was his right to do it that way. But it seemed too easy of a transition to crazy murderer.
Yeah. Well, move right along.
Yeah.
So, Michael's mother is played by Sherry Moon Zombie, who has to be in every Rob Zombie film.
Right.
she's fine, but she's not the greatest actress in the world.
No.
I hate to say it.
Yeah.
And it just, every time I see her in one of his movies, I just kind of, I mean, God, he loves his wife.
Yeah,
I can't put it past the fella. He wants to put her in the movie. That's fine. And she's a very beautiful lady. But it's like, I just get tired of seeing her in these films.
Well, yeah, and and she just doesn't. It's she's great when it's like the performance is like a very light thing, but she had to try to play this like dramatic, heavy turn, and I just don't think she,
right. I mean, you could pull it off when she's playing like some crazy person,
like Baby. She was perfect.
Yeah, like Baby, she was perfect because she's playing this kind of off the wall character,
right?
But, you kind of tried to put her in a more serious, dramatic role, and it just didn't work for me, especially when you got people like Brad Dourif and Malcolm McDowell and all these like high caliber actors.
Yeah, she was in there with, and even William Forsythe to some degree. I mean, you got these people that really do great performances and can really sell it, and she was already up against a lot of pressure there to kind of pull that off and stand out, and it really didn't work. But
some of the other names, Christina Klebe, Hannah Hall, the aforementioned William Forsythe, and Dee Wallace.
Yes, who we love. We
love Dee Wallace. And, of course, Danielle Harris finally makes her return to the Halloween franchise.
Yes, which was great to see. You love that. And she, she took... It was funny because she took over actually, when Julie was kind of watching it, she thought she was just a grown-up Jamie Lloyd. And I said, no. She's playing a character, the Annie from the original series. So
Brian had listed all the bit roles, which some of these are just crazy. Like, got Udo Klein.
Yeah.
Clint Howard. Danny Trejo, Lou Temple, Bill Moseley.
Basically, now the whole cast of Devil's Reject is coming in here.
Yeah. Leslie Easterbrook, Ken Foray, Sybil Danning, Mickey Dolenz.
That's the weirdest one to me. Where did they drag him
Mickey
up
Dolenz,
from the Monkeys? Come on.
And it's like they raided a chiller convention.
They did, exactly. I think they really went into a chiller convention and said, all right,
hey, you guys want to be
on
in my movie?
Like,
Daniel Roebuck, Sid Haig, and Courtney Gaines.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we kind of covered some of this other stuff in the rundown, but now I will say, when you got away from the origin stuff, because I didn't like any of the scenes with Michael as a kid. I didn't like any of the backstory. But when you got to the actual kills where Michael's grown and he's killing people, there were some fantastic sequences in here that if you could just take those bits out, I would have loved to see. I would have loved to seen a movie that just eliminated all the backstory, and it was just this updated version of Michael, killing people, because those scenes worked really well.
Yeah, I would almost love to see someone edit that film from, like, with taking just the scenes that you kind of saw in the original Halloween and take the new ones and kind of go over there, like, just show him kill his sister in the beginning. Then kind of, if you want to do a couple of scenes maybe in the mental institution when he's an adult, just briefly to show that he was there and how he escapes. Fine, and then move on to like the what we know from the Haddonfield portion, and like I'd love to see see that side by side and see if that would make it a better film. Like you said, take out all the origin stuff as him as a kid, see what happens.
Yeah, because they really were. I will give Rob Zombie credit in both of these films. Actually, there's some really good kill sequences,
and Michael is super violent.
Very brutal.
Yeah.
Very, very brutal. Like some of the kills in these two movies are among some of my favorite of the whole franchise.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and there's ones where like he just like that one in this, I know we're jumping ahead to the second one where he just keeps slamming that guy and then he hangs him there and you just see his mangled, mashed face like repeatedly.
What about the hospital where he where he stabs Octavia Spencer?
Right, an Oscar winner.
Oh
no
my
less.
God, it's just brutal. Oh, it's like it's so realistically just violent that it's really, really
and she plays
effective.
it off too, because she comes out and you don't know if she's her, and then she's just like and she's like, you show she's got her acting chops there. It's got a hey, she was she's a stellar actor right there, her. So, it's kind of funny though, because there are so many good things about this movie that you can't like just totally dismiss them. So, because Rob Zombie definitely gets some things right about Michael's character. He gets that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest misstep of the entire movie was delving too much into the backstory.
Right.
I think if you had not had that, I could have lived with the Loomis portrayal.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
It wasn't my favorite, but I could have lived with it. The Laurie portrayal, we already said was great. The kills were great.
Right.
I think it would have been a really solid entry if not for the origin stuff, and that's the stuff that just took me out of the movie.
Yeah, it was too much of a just scene. Too many scenes in the beginning of that.
Yeah. Yeah. But then, so then he followed that up with Halloween 2 in 2009. And this one, unlike the first one, which more or less adhered to the plot of the original, aside from the origin stuff, of course.
Yeah.
Halloween 2, he kind of deviated quite a bit from the Halloween 2 sequel, which took place entirely inside the hospital.
I mean, they teased you in the beginning with it.
Yeah, they teased it. There is some brief sequences inside the hospital, but after that, it kind of goes, to me, completely off the rails.
Yeah.
This
And
one
he
brings
does
back-
that. You notice that? He doesn't do us... Like, I mean, I know he doesn't do, like, many series of films, but, like, even with, like, look at House of a Thousand Corpses, and then look at the sequel, Devil's Rejects. Totally different type of films. Even the characters that were in both seem different. So it's like I don't think he likes to ever do, like, just a repeat, like a true sequel anyway, apparently.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, I can't hold that against him, for wanting to change things up.
He's got his right to do what he wants. I know.
And as a musician, first and foremost, they typically, you're not gonna put out the same album every time.
Right, that's a good
you
point.
Want to change things
actually.
up. You're always reinventing yourself.
That's actually a really good point that I didn't really think of. That's an excellent point on explaining why maybe he does that.
And that's part of the reason I'm such a Rob Zombie apologist, because I loved his music before he ever did movies. So I was listening to White Zombie back in the 90s, and then when he went solo and listening to those his solo albums and stuff, I loved all those. In fact, anytime I run a 5K, my first song on my starting track when I start is Thunder Kiss 65. That's my go-to 5K song.
There you go.
So let's list some of the ones we didn't list. We've got Bree Grant, Angela Trimber, Chase Wright Bennett.
Yeah, that's the one that plays the new Michael as a kid.
Oh, okay. Mary Birdsong. And we already listed Brad Dourif and Daniel Harris. We got Margot Kidder, who another actress that I met.
Oh, see, I wish I got to meet her.
Super, super, super nice lady.
She seems like it.
So we went to, I'll tell you the story of meeting her. I don't know if I've mentioned it before. I might have. We were at this PopCon that nobody showed up to. And she's sitting over there doing a crossword puzzle all by herself.
Aw.
And I felt bad. I was like, that's freaking Margot Kidder. Like, why is nobody up there talking to her?
I know, that's a shame.
She's sitting over there doing a little crossword puzzle. So we went up to her and we're talking and, obviously talking about her Superman stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And her face just lit up, when she got to talk about her roles in the Superman movies. And she was telling us stories about Richard Pryor and took some great photos and just a super, super nice lady.
I hope she goes again to some of these things, yeah.
Daniel Roebuck, Carolyn Williams, Octavia Spencer, as we mentioned. Howard Hesseman.
Yeah, what a weird cameo for him, man.
Bill
Fagerbacky, yeah, he's from Coach.
Fagerbacky.
Remember, he was Dauber in Coach.
Oh yeah, Fagerbacky.
And then, of course, more recently, he was Marshall's father on How I Met Your Mother.
I swear, I should be a serial killer for how I murder these names. Chris Hardwick, Richard Ryle, and Weird Al Yankovic, of all people. So,
who had a funny little sequence in there?
Yeah. So this movie had such a dark tone. That may be another reason I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
But Laurie is super messed up in this one.
Yeah. Which is understandable. I mean,
it's understandable, yeah, but it's so dark.
Right.
And of course Annie survived, which is the Danielle Harris character. But she's also pretty messed up.
Yeah.
And they're all living with Sheriff Brackett.
Poor guy, and he tries to bring home a pizza, and they won't even let him enjoy it.
Yeah. But that was a great scene.
Yeah, it was. He's funny. It just shows his Brad Dourif how great he is. Like, he's like, he goes from every extreme, like, in this movie, and in the whole series, he's great.
But this one's the one that ramps up Loomis being just completely unbearable.
Ugh.
He's on this book tour, and he's just full of himself and cocky and arrogant. It's just a downer. Like, every character in this movie is on a path that you don't like. Laurie's so screwed up. You thought she was a strong, great character in the first one, but now she's just like completely broken.
Yeah. Well, I did like Annie's character because she was, I feel bad because she was actually Danielle Harris is really good. I don't think gets the prop she deserves as an actress because she's really good with what she gets.
Yeah, she is,
and she was good in this. Like I felt bad for her. Like all she was doing was trying to take care of her friend and try at the same time. Like there was that one scene where she's like, "Listen, you're not the only one that went through this too."
Right.
And it's true. Why? She was barely hanging on. Laurie. I mean. Yeah, granted, Laurie was the one that gave him the death blow there, so to speak, even though he didn't die. But, she has a traumatic thing too. But it's not like, Harris's character was sitting there off in a lounge chair watching it all go by. She was just about murdered herself. So
it's like you took the two main characters, though. You took Laurie and Loomis and made them completely unlikable.
Right.
It's like, how are you supposed to enjoy a movie where the two main characters that you're supposed to root for are just total pricks? I mean, Laurie's just completely nasty.
Yeah, she's annoying.
She's very annoying.
And it's not, again, this is not Scout Taylor Compton's.
No, it's how the part was written.
Yeah, she played it perfectly, I'm sure, from what it was written, because she was good. But, yeah, I just didn't like her in it. You didn't like her.
But then the movie, again, just, to me, goes completely off the rails because Michael's walking around without a mask most of the movie.
Yeah, he puts it on when he's about to kill, but that's why.
Yeah, and he's got this big giant beard, so he looks like a hobo.
And you see his face through half the movie, like his face, not even just a side view. His flat on his expression.
No, he just looks like a street bum.
Yeah, he's walking around with a satchel. I mean, he's got luggage.
Oh my
He's got luggage.
God.
What the hell?
And then the worst part to me
is
these stupid visions.
Yeah.
So he keeps seeing these visions of Sherry Moon Zombie with a white horse or something. And I don't know what it's supposed to symbolize, but it's so dumb. It's just every time one of those vision things came on, I just about wanted to just turn the TV off.
And another thing is you ever notice the visions, the way she did nothing but nurture Michael through every scene she was in the first one. Why is she the sinister, force behind his killing in his visions in the second one? Now, they do go to kind of explain that when we get to the ending of this film. Because we might as well jump ahead. I mean, we're not really...
just go ahead. It's fine. I mean...
there's been a debate on how and now we're talking about the one that was released on video, which, home release, which was different, apparently, from the theatrical version, which I never got to see. But... they're saying this is the canon versions now. So, there's been a debate where, last night I really paid attention to it when I watched it. It basically, it gives you this impression that possibly Laurie was dreaming this whole movie up in her head. And at the end of the first, she was in an asylum, which would make a little more sense to some degree. But at the same time, why was she having these visions of her mom, which she would no way on earth remember? So that's a plot hole. And some people actually go on to say, "Oh no, Laurie was the killer in the whole thing." And then someone said, I remember someone responded, "So yeah, so how is she lifting up people and throwing them across the room?" It's like she's 5'2" and I
mean, to me, that's just. You're trying to bend over backwards to make a movie better than it actually is. It's not. It's a problem with the writing.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it because, again, I like Rob Zombie, but I think he missed the mark on this one. I don't like this. And what's funny is some people like this one better than the other remake.
Wow.
They like 2 better than 1. I've heard many people say they like 2 better than 1. I don't get it. I did not like this movie at all.
No, and I mean, like I said, he did some things right. It made sense that Laurie would be a little loony after what she went through. You get it.
The kills are good. There's really good kills in this
great
one.
kills in it. But there's some just, to me, the one unforgivable moment is that when at the end, first of all, and Loomis makes this turn, but it's so sudden and so, it was just bad. You don't buy it. And it just looks forced and rushed. you know, like all of a sudden now he's like, I gotta help, you know, and like he goes in there and then this one when Michael, you know, kills Loomis and he yells, die! I'm sorry. You cannot have Michael Myers speak. I'm not apologizing for anyone on that one. No. I'm sorry. That is, to me, that's unforgivable. You know what? Granted, yes, he spoke. Like, because they even said that last night, and Julie's like, well, he did speak in the beginning of the movie. I said, yeah, but the Michael Myers that we know, I mean, he was mute almost his whole life. Why does he speak and yell die? I'm sorry. I can't forgive that.
It's not, if you gave me a list of how can I make Michael Myers not as scary? Okay. Have him talk, take his mask off, show him as a kid. I mean, every single thing I could think of to make him not scary is what he did in this movie.
I mean, the only thing they could have done more is made him do stand-up and sound like Jerry Seinfeld. I mean, right?
That's about the only thing I could think of. Sounding like Jerry Seinfeld is being very generous, Brian.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Hey, you know, I got to support you, right? But yeah, I'm sorry. That just, that to me, that like, is as much as I disliked the second one, that just cemented it.
It's just, I wonder why are you trying to make a scary movie or are you just trying to make a movie? Because I don't know. I just don't get the concept of explaining all this stuff. I haven't gotten into Rob Zombie's head yet.
Yeah.
Because I like Devil's Rejects. I loved House of
Yeah, those were fantastic. I love this.
I did not like 31.
I still got to see that one.
Yeah, I did not like that one. I just thought it wasn't necessarily bad in terms of the way this one's bad. Because it was just, I think he was going kind of for that same Devil's Rejects type feel with the crazy characters and everything, but it just didn't work. He didn't quite make it to that level. So I was just bored by it, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it was just.
And I didn't see I never did see his the witch one. Which one was that?
Lords of Salem or.
Lords of Salem. I never caught that one.
I actually bought that, and I have it. I just never got a chance to watch it yet. I heard that's really good. I guess
I need to watch it. Yeah, I need to watch that one. But so he's a little hit or miss for me, and this one to me was definitely a miss. So, but anyway, so that's our Michael Myers retrospective. Again, Halloween, one of my favorite franchises for all the missteps, and you know, for me, it all balances out in the end. I think it's all the strength of that character.
Yeah, which is why I think this one's so painful.
yeah. I'm have extremely high hopes for this next one that's coming down the pipe.
I can't wait. I almost wish there's a way that we could like time it and so we could see it together. This one.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Well, maybe, who knows? Maybe we can.
Yeah. Hey, if it comes out October, we are planning our Universal trip. That would be sick. Imagine that comes out right during that trip. We see it at the theater. Yes. You know, they have that big movie theater in the City Walk. Oh my
gosh.
That would be the best.
So our beer pairing this week is one of my absolute favorite beers of all time.
Yes, I agree. And it's by far one of the best in this genre of beer.
Right. And that is for my money, probably one of the best pumpkin beers,
if not the best. Because I've had a million of them. I mean, I try every one that comes my way. And my brother Adam was a big beer aficionado as well. He was the one that first told me. He goes, "You gotta try this one. I know you like the pumpkin beers, but this one's gonna be your favorite." And he was dead on. I mean, it is my favorite probably.
This is of course Pumpkin by Southern Tier.
Easily accessible, by the way.
Easily, yeah. You can find this all over the place around October. In fact, you might even be able to start finding them.
Yeah, actually, because I've already seen a ton of pumpkin beers coming out already.
Yeah. But imagine liquefied pumpkin pie poured into a beer glass.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. It is like drinking pumpkin pie. It is so, so good. And there's so many pumpkin beers that have like this weird chemical aftertaste because it's not like real pumpkin, or either they're not actually pumpkin, they're just the spice.
Right, the pumpkin spice.
So it's like, we're going to throw allspice in here and call it pumpkin beer. No,
lazy.
It's got to have real pumpkin in it. This is the real deal. This thing tastes like actual pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I think one place had it. I think, I want to say it was something like Texas Roadhouse, where they served it to me and they rimmed the glass with like some brown sugar and cinnamon. And,
yes, I've had it served that way.
That just adds a nice little touch to it, even though it doesn't need it, but it adds to it.
And what's the stout version? That's the is it the Warlock?
Yes, Warlock.
Yeah, Warlock.
That's another good one.
If you want something a little richer and a little darker, they have a companion which is called Warlock, which is it's also really good. It's a little more like roasted pumpkin.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? I'm not a big Southern Tier fan. Those are really the only two I like out of their series. Not that I dislike the other ones, but none of the other ones stand out to me.
No, that's accurate. I've had some other Southern Tier because I like pumpkin so much, and I've never found one that I was just like completely crazy over.
Yeah. Besides
these two,
it's funny, right? It's like they nail pumpkin, but yeah.
Yeah, but definitely get you some pumpkin this year.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
I know. I'm already like now. I'm like thinking of it. I'm like, oh, you know what? I want that right now.
Every pumpkin beer, always I'm comparing it to does it equal pumpkin? Like that's my standard.
Yeah, it should be. Nothing comes close to it for me yet.
But it doesn't stop me from trying dozens of them.
No, if you haven't figured out yet, Tim and I have a lot of similarities. One of them is our pumpkin fascination, and it's so funny. Last year it really started. We really noticed it, and we're like, every time we've gotten something in a store, we basically send a picture and say, look, it's your fault, because we'd buy some kind of pumpkin thing. And this is the earliest I've already got on. I already bought pumpkin puffins and pumpkin Special K.
Yeah, I got on it last week. I was at Dunkin' Donuts and they had pumpkin cream cheese.
Oh, I had a pumpkin cheese.
Yeah, so I had a pumpkin cream cheese bagel. That was August 22nd.
I am so mad I missed.
That's as early as I.
Yeah, I missed. I remember one point they did have some kind of. I want to say it was the pumpkin cronut or something, but it was like pumpkin spice or something. But they had something, a pumpkin-y flavor cronut, which I'm so mad. Now that you had one, you know what that must have been like, right?
Well, usually people are either like hate pumpkin or they're complete fanatics.
Yeah.
There's not much in between. Now, my wife, she likes pumpkin, but she's not. She gets kind of burned out on.
That's kind of like Julie. She'll have it, but she's like,
yeah. So last year I was in the grocery store, and she was kind of frowning at all the pumpkin stuff everywhere. Like there was everything pumpkin.
Yeah,
pumpkin cereal and pumpkin.
They have Cheerios now. Pumpkin Cheerios.
Yeah,
every year it gets more and more. People add to pumpkin.
Yeah, it gets crazy. And so I was just trying to play a trick on her. And I was like, oh my God, honey, look, they got pumpkin spice Clorox. And she goes running over there. She's like, no way. And she goes running there. I was like, I'm just kidding.
The funny thing is you laugh, but this year that'll be out.
Yeah. So I'm just waiting for pumpkin bleach.
Yeah, yeah. Because they every year they up the pumpkin game one more.
What's bad is she actually believed me. That's how, and I kind of almost would believe it.
Yeah, like how could you not believe it when you've seen everything? It's like the bacon of like the fall. It's like what else is that?
Kickstarter.
Yep. Have they
T-shirts?
Have they?
I want T-shirts that say "pumpkin is
bacon of the fall." Yeah, there you go. See, look at that. This podcast is just winning.
I can't even say it. Pumpkin is a bacon.
Quick, we get Kev on those shirts right away. Order 3 instantly.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't, but but you know what I meant. Anyway,
I want one so bad now.
I know, right? And then you have that burnt orange color shirt too.
Oh my God.
Well, hey, listen, Ho'opo has their pumpkin thing. I mean, their bacon thing. We can have our pumpkin thing, right?
# pumpkin is the bacon of the fall.
There you go.
I love it.
Well, we're going to see that trending everywhere, and no one will give us credit.
Oh man, I have not laughed that hard in a long time. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll finish off with the trivia. So,
trivia question.
I tried
go for
this
it.
was a tough one because based on spanning so many movies, I wanted to kind of get one that was kind of encompassed the whole, and I think I found it. So basically, my trivia question is, who is the only actress to appear in some way, shape, or form in 4 consecutive Halloween movies? So, I mean, obviously, yes, of course. You can just quickly Google or go on IMDb and figure it out. Try and think of this one and see if you can get it, because I think it's a good one.
So we need to answer our trivia question from last time, which was, Entertainment Weekly voted the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre the second scariest film ever made. What was the first? And the answer, of course, faithful listener Cody got it. The Exorcist.
Yes. And I promised her, I said, because she answered it like I think right after the other episode dropped, and I told her, I said, well, we're going to have to make you wait. If you're right.
Yeah, to be fair, I probably would have guessed that.
Yeah.
Only because The Exorcist continuously shows up at the top of all the horror movie lists, but I thought it was just tricky enough. I mean, because you could make an argument for The Shining.
Yeah, which that would have been, I mean, my two guesses would have been The Shining or The Exorcist, but you never know. It was good that, I mean, it's still, like you said, it's tricky enough that it could have gone either way, so.
Which The Exorcist is going to be that'll be a blowout episode. We'll have to save that for an anniversary.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm still kind of eyeing that one for our 100th episode.
Yeah, I think that would be a good appropriate one for the 100th.
Yep. But anyway, I've got to roll because I got some Game of Thrones to watch.
Yeah, I know. I already delayed Tim 50 minutes past when I promised him. But this was an episode that you can't really stifle, you know.
No.
Especially if we would have cut it short, we would never have got our new hashtag.
That's right. So we'll be tweeting that out soon.
Yeah.
We're going to get that trending.
Every time we pick up a pumpkin item, we'll hashtag it that.
So, guys, make sure you leave us an iTunes review. That's how we get the word out and get more downloads. And you'll be entered into our contest to win a copy of Paul Blart 2.
Yes, which we have not forgotten about. I have dusted it off once yet again to get it ready.
That's right. He takes it out once a week and polishes it with a cloth.
I do, yeah. And every day I mire in the mistake I made in purchasing it.
But I do have some cool little goodies to throw in there, and they may be related to this episode.
Oh, see? Look at Tim tease.
Yeah, I got a little treasure chest going on of prize goodies. So
there you go.
So get those iTunes reviews in. We'll be at some point we're going to pull the trigger on that and pick somebody. So
yes, and you don't want to be the last person standing there without a seat.
That's right. All right, guys. We'll talk to you next week.
Later.
Marvelous Mervo, at your service. Marvelous Mervo, that's my name, and I'll do my best to entertain you. Magic and laughter, 'cause that's my game. I could light up the sky each day.